Beatz Media presents the Scoop and Score Football Show.
Spencer Gallup, how we doing today, sir?
I'm chilling. I am chilling. Doing great.
Doing absolutely splendid here with a beautiful head cold for me, a new setup style. I think it looks fantastic, by the way. We've had an absolute drama-filled week, have we not here?
There's been a lot going on.
It's been a lot going on. Welcome back, everyone, here to the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 20. Before we get into everything today, you guys should subscribe to the channel. You should hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos, or you can follow us as well on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever else you get your podcasts. Spencer, I think we have to start recapping the conference championship weekend. And I think we have to start with the Patriots-Broncos game. Patriots win it 10-7. You had...
3.
Yeah.
Or no, it was 10-7.
It was 10-7.
Yeah.
It was 10-7 because you had the Broncos go up right away in the game. First drive of the game, Jarrett Stidham looks like the next coming of Nick Foles. Broncos are going to be on their way to a Super Bowl. And then they get into the second quarter, early part of the second quarter. They go for it from like the 14-yard line of New England on 4th and 1. Don't get it. And honestly, that ended up being a little bit of the difference in the game towards the end of it.
It was just your classic snow game. It was just, a bunch of sloppy football. Drake May really didn't look all that great. Neither team really looked that great, but, Jarrett Stidham had some plays that he had, obviously that long throw early in the game, and then they scored it on the touchdown later on that drive to go up 7-0. New England, found their ways back. New England blocked a Broncos field goal, and we've had 3 teams go to the Super Bowl representing the AFC in the past decade. So the Patriots, the Chiefs, and then the one time the Bengals.
And people like to talk about the AFC like it's the one that's a deeper conference. Yet you've seen, I think, 6 teams represent the NFC the last 10 years. It's 6 or 7, and no jokes there, by the way. 6 or 7. Patriots, Chiefs, and Bengals one time. Everything else has been Chiefs or Patriots. Look, a lot of people are saying that Drake May isn't that good, that he kind of got dragged there a little bit. Here's the thing. He just faced 3 top 5 defenses 3 weeks in a row. Like, we have to give him credit where credit is due. He did enough to win, and he's there. He made it to the Super Bowl in his second season. You have to give him those flowers, regardless if it was pretty or not. He did enough to win. Granted, that defense for New England is exceptional. Milton Williams has been an absolute difference maker at the defensive tackle position there. They were missing him the last couple years. Christian Gonzalez has come into his own. He's the one who made the game-winning interception there in that Blizzard Bowl, if you will, up in Denver. Fun fact, they're getting a new stadium eventually. I think in 2031, it's going to be a retractable roof, I think, and their general manager or an owner kind of said, "Oh, we wish we had that this week." Well, you kind of do wish you had it this week, but New England did enough, and that's all that it matters. And Mike Vrabel in year 1 in New England is back in a Super Bowl, and Tennessee is looking at themselves like, "Wow, we shouldn't have fired that guy." So that's exactly why they went and hired a very similar coach in Robert Saleh. New England did enough, and Denver, if they had Bo Nix, maybe it could have been a bit of a different story.
Yeah, it was just it was a sloppy game overall. The snow games, I know a lot of people like them. I think they're fine, but like it kind of takes away a lot of the aspects of football. You're not able to throw the ball down the field very much. Obviously you could tell Jarrett Stidham's late interception where it was just a horribly thrown football. You got to establish the run a lot more in those weather conditions. And New England had some plays with Travion Henderson. And their offensive line was playing really well. Both the lines played well. It was just it was an evenly matched game. It's just the Patriots made a couple more plays when needed, and Drake May converted that 3rd and 6 with his legs to seal the game for New England. And, just a year ago, the Patriots went 4-13. and now they're 14-3, and they are going to the Super Bowl. So it's unbelievable the turnaround that Mike Vrabel had. Mike Vrabel cemented himself as coach of the year. It was between him and Ben Johnson, and I know there was Liam Cohen, and you could make your argument with that. It's Mike Vrabel. If you go from if you come into a team that went 4-13 and go to the Super Bowl the next year, you're going to win Coach of the Year.
Right.
And Drake May has had a really good year. I know people said he was up there with MVP with Stafford, and Stafford's going to win it. But May's had an unbelievable sophomore year and is going to make an even bigger jump next year. And I truly believe in what the Patriots are building. They have a really good overall team. They have veterans with some young pieces. They went into free agency last year and they signed Milton Williams and they signed Carlton Davis. They signed Stephon Diggs, and all those guys have made impacts on this team going to the Super Bowl. And their offensive line got better. Their defense has played really well under Vrabel. And hey, and he was just the water boy for Cleveland last year.
Yes.
So it's
Yes, he
crazy
was.
how it's crazy what can happen. And we always kind of felt like he was going to go to New England when he got fired, and he was just waiting for that job to open up. And this was the perfect hire. And this team is destined to be good for a while. So yeah,
The thing about
congrats to
them,
New England. The super long 6-year drought of
7.
not
Make
making
it
a
7.
or 7-year drought of not making a Super Bowl is over. So happy for you guys that you had to deal with 7 years of not making the Super Bowl.
Shout out our buddy Alex from the Max Sports Connection podcast. He's a Patriots fan. Me and him have been going back and forth a little bit all week. So, really,
How's
what
he a
won the
Patriot?
game? He's a Patriots fan. There's a lot of Patriots fans. We got a lot of our friends who are Patriots fans. That they're like closeted Patriots fans, where they just come out of the woodwork when they're winning,
Yes.
But really what won the game was Drake May's legs. Like without Drake May's legs, I think Denver probably wins that game actually. I think both defenses, you talked about the offensive lines. I thought the defensive lines both also did exceptional. Both quarterbacks got sacked like 4 or 5 different times in that game. Denver's defense did enough to win. And it's just, if you have Bo Nix, maybe there's a little bit of a difference. And you make maybe the right call and kick it on 4th and 1 in the second quarter. But even in that moment, I was one who said I'm okay with going for it because I don't think anyone predicted the fact that a blizzard was going to happen in the second half, So in hindsight, it's 2020, but then you make that call. So for Denver, I don't think they have anything to be ashamed of, but they did fire their offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi.
Yeah.
I think Sean Payton felt like he needed to change some things. I just feel like that's a little too risky, at least right now. Who knows? It could be better for him next year. Sean Payton is very emotional anyway. So maybe he feels like right now's the time to do it before Bo Nix gets the bag. And he's not wrong. That's usually what happens in the NFL is once that quarterback gets that contract money, it's a little bit harder to go out there and consistently win. So
Yeah.
Denver still has that time to be back, and I think they will be back as long as that defense stays healthy and intact. They're one of the better rosters in the league right now. So Denver has nothing to be ashamed of. In New England, like you said, they're back. They are back, and Mike Vrabel. I would make the argument, and I want to pivot to the NFC Championship game. What Mike McDonald has done in Seattle is also easily worthy of being head coach of the year too.
Yep.
I don't think anyone predicted a Drake May versus Sam Darnold Super Bowl. No one had that on their bingo card. I know neither of us did. You had Josh Allen, Jared Goff. I had Lamar Jackson and Matthew Stafford. I was one game away from Matthew Stafford getting.
And the crazy thing is, it's the 1 seed in the NFC versus the 2 seed in the AFC.
Yes,
and it's like that's not insane at all. That's actually pretty common. It's just the teams. Like
no one predicted these teams.
These are 2 teams that nobody predicted to be good. I mean, maybe Seattle we thought was going to be solid. I know some people were high on New England this year, like maybe making the wild card, but I don't think about winning the East and going all the way to the Super Bowl. I'm shocked. I mean, this Super Bowl, I think it's going to be a good Super Bowl. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't know if it has that, like, because, like, there's been previous years, like Philadelphia and Kansas City, the 2 years, like that, those were two juggernauts going at it, and those were going to be good games. And last year, the Eagles just took it to Kansas City, but a couple years ago, when it was them, it was back and forth. It was that 38-35 final, and it was a fantastic Super Bowl. I don't know if we're going to get that with this Super Bowl. I think it'll be a good game. It's just like Sam Darnold is. If he wins the Super Bowl, dude,
It's Sam Darnold. Like, it's hard to
Sam
fathom.
Darnold. And the funny thing is I was talking to someone at work. It's like, I still don't trust Sam Darnold. I don't. And he just had the game of his life in the NFC title game. He had the best game of his career, arguably, and I still don't trust him at all. I don't trust him going into the Super Bowl
Because we've seen him in New York City seeing ghosts. We've seen his
until
first
that
career
fucking-
pass
yeah.
be a pick six
Yep.
against the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. Like, this is Sam Darnold. We've seen it before. It crumbles. But the difference is he's learned from everything. He is
He has.
very poised. If you actually look at it, statistically, we always talk about Jared Goff. If you look over the last decade of football, statistically speaking, Jared Goff is like the best quarterback in the NFL on paper. If you look at the stats and everything. If you look at the
Because he's
last
as accurate as they are.
If you look at the last 2 seasons, Sam Darnold's won the most out of any quarterback in the NFL. He has the best stats out of anyone in the NFL. You have to give credit where credit is due. It's not pretty all the time, but it works. Sam Darnold is also now the first quarterback in that 2018 draft class that had Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Josh Rosen, to make the Super Bowl. Out of all of them.
Yeah.
And this was the year for Josh Allen in Buffalo over there. Sam
It
Darnold
was.
went and he proved it. And obviously you can say whatever. JSN he's the best receiver currently in the league. I think statistically, I mean, he was this year, but he's got to be up there. And I know that his type of wide receiver, like his build and the way he is, he's an Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a Puka Nacua, all three of those guys. They're what's taking the NFL by storm right now. That style of wide receiver. They're not going to be the burner. They're not going to wow you with speed,
Twitchy.
but they will absolutely
and
route
twitchy.
run you. They're
That's
quick,
what
they're
that's what they
twitchy,
want.
they're great at route running, and they can catch anything that touches their hands. That's what separates them right now. Of course, Justin Jefferson is up there still, and Jamar Chase. They're outliers. But right now, it's like the sneaky slot receiver build that aren't slot receivers. They're actually wide receiver ones. That's what's taken the league by storm. JSN, and I didn't know Rashid Shaheed had what he had in him. You know, Seattle. I had predicted in the preseason when we did this earlier back in August. I had said Seattle was going to finish last in the division, but it was more so out of precautionary measures because I had a lot of questions on that defense. I thought DeMarcus Lawrence was old. I thought Leonard Williams was old. Obviously, they still got a lot left in the tank. They did turn back the clock because Seattle's defense is absolutely nasty. This is the best defense they've had since Legion of Boom. There's a reason why they're now playing in Super Bowl 60. I'm just shocked. I'm utterly shocked that we're seeing a Super Bowl 49 rematch. I wonder, when we get to really preview this game even more, will Mike McDonald hand the ball off to K9 on the 1-yard line? I think that's what this game comes down to, maybe.
Sam Darnold slant.
We're going to have a
slant to Rashid Shaheed.
And Christian Gonzalez gets the pick across the middle.
Yep.
I could see it.
Like the prophecy foretold. What a weird Super Bowl, man.
It is weird. It's giving, this whole year gave like 10 years ago vibes.
I wanted Bills and Rams. That would have been cinema. That would have been an elite Super Bowl.
I still think this is.
Like 38-35, just like, I don't know, man.
See, here's the thing, right, Spence? Real quick.
It's a game. It's like
elite teams made the Super Bowl, not what fans, not what random people would want to watch, like a Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, big names, high profile, splashy. This isn't
I want to watch
Super Bowl.
superstars go at it.
Thing is, everyone wants to watch superstars, but the two best teams made the Super Bowl. Efficient teams. Like, this is going to be an elite game because of how efficient both of these teams are. And football is much more of a team game than anything. You have the two best teams, period, here. And they're here. So, I think we are going to be in for a very good game, regardless.
Yeah, but I want superstars all around.
I know people want
There's
superstars.
arguably maybe 2 superstars on offense from both teams combined. That's JSN and that's Drake May. That's it. Everybody else is average or good. I want to see superstars. I want to see, it's the last NFL game of the year. I want to see the best teams, which I do think, but I want to see superstars go at it. I want to see where players win MVPs. I want to see where players win Offensive Player of the Year, and maybe ends up being JSN.
How many Super Bowls have we seen in the past, though, that was just like this? And of course, it was having a similar team there in New England.
There's a ton of there used to be a ton of hype going into the Super Bowl. There used to be like a ton of like, oh my God, we need to watch the Super Bowl. I gotta watch that. I don't know if we're getting that this year. I really don't. Like, I think these are good teams, but I don't think these are obviously.
So we're about ratings over here now at Ball N Beatz Media.
Yes, I am talking about ratings. I
We're
want to
about
watch
TV ratings and watching.
And the Rams should have won that damn football game, and Sean McVay deserves to coach in Europe for that coaching malpractice he did. Stop going for it on 4th down and take the points when you need to. You let a bum Sam Darnold go to the Super Bowl. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
He's not a bum, dude.
Sean McVay does this every year.
This
Sean
is Jared
McVay
Goff in the
has
Super
the
Bowl.
team that everybody talks about, the Rams. This is the Rams' time to finally pull through again. And every single year, he does something stupid, and it costs his team the game.
I can guarantee
and I don't want to
you
hear
this,
about
Spencer.
Sam Darnold being a great quarterback. He's not. No, he's not. Sam Darnold is lucky he has a great team around him. He's a average game manager. He's a average game manager. And you can win with game managers. I understand that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo has made it. The Niners have made a living going off of it. And look how that's ended up. They've lost every single Super Bowl they've gotten to with a game manager.
We've seen Rex Grossman play in a Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
We've seen Jake play in a Super Bowl. Jake
Delhomme.
Might be the worst quarterback since Dilfer to make the Super Bowl.
We've seen Jake Delhomme play in a Super Bowl. Like, this happens. This could be one of those seasons. You know what I mean? Where
I don't want that. I want the 2 best teams, and these are not the 2 best.
Here's truth of the matter. You don't always get what you want.
Nix would have won that game if he was healthy, and the Broncos would have won that game 100%. Bo Nix is healthy, the Broncos win that.
I agree with you.
Sean McVay is an idiot, the Rams beat the Seahawks. Instead, we got a sophomore. I do like Drake May. I do think Drake May is good. He only had 86 passing yards in the AFC title game. Yeah, but it was snowing, so I'll give him a little bit of leeway. And then you got a bum in Sam Darnold. I don't need to see Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. We used to see gods in the Super Bowl. We used to see gods play in the Super Bowl. And now we're getting just no. I don't need to see Darnold in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to watch Michigan State K9. All right, that's what I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see JSN in the Rose Bowl. That's what I'm trying to see. I'm trying to see old school Leonard Williams. I'm trying to see old school DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm trying to see Milton Williams destroy Sam Darnold. I'm trying to watch Drake May have 6-yard rollouts. That's what I'm here for.
Walker's had a fine playoffs.
K9 has been one of
K9's had a fine season. He barely eclipsed 1,000 yards.
I know. He didn't have the greatest year, but he has been maybe the best player.
He kind of shared with Charbonnet. So that doesn't help either. It's the Lions.
Now you have George Halani. George Halani's running back 3, and obviously K9's going to get a lot more of those carries. But K9's been maybe the best player in the postseason. You could argue.
Overall, I don't know. JSN had that really good NFC title game.
JSN did have 165 yards receiving or whatever it was. It was like 155, 165. I'll give you that.
Walker only had 62 in the NFC title game.
But he's been efficient. It's been efficient 62.
He averaged 3 yards.
What's wrong with 3 yards, man?
That's ass.
3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Yeah. Puka Nacua is. See, I want to see Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams and Kyron Williams in the Super Bowl. I want to see stars. I want to see players who I know will go out and put up points.
I had predicted the Rams to win the
This
Super
is going to
Bowl in
be a
August. You think I
13-3
didn't want to
Super
see
Bowl.
that?
This is going to be a 13-3 Super Bowl.
13-6.
Nobody's going to score because Drake May, I think, is good, but I think he hasn't, completely proven it in the biggest moments yet. And Darnold's ass.
It's not going to snow in Santa Clara. I think we'll have a little bit more points. That's just my humble opinion there. I think we'll see a little bit more. I think it will be lower scoring. I do think both teams, it's giving 21-17, 24-21. Like, that's what it's giving to me. It's giving whatever the under is, it's going to be right at it. I'm assuming the under, I haven't looked. I'm assuming that over-under
Seattle's favored in this game.
Seattle is favored. Favored, you said by 4. I think that over-under is probably around 42.5 to like 46.5. It can't be higher than 46.5. There's just no shot. But
it's terrible.
It is not terrible. This is the two best teams, and they're here. Super Bowl 60 next week. We will pick that next week on this show.
I don't think these are the two best teams, but that's just my humble opinion. But the two best teams don't always make it. It's just whoever's playing best at the right time. So,
two best teams made the Super Bowl.
No.
Speaking of best, the best to ever do it is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. Bill Belichick, the head coach, former head coach. It's 4.5 point spread.
Seattle favored by 4.5.
Bill Belichick.
Crazy.
Bill Belichick not making the Hall of Fame. 6-time Super Bowl champion as a head coach, 2-time Super Bowl champion as an assistant with the New York Giants under Bill Parcells. How? That's all I got to ask.
It's just voters being petty. There's some, not all voters think that they're like entitled to everything, and it's really stupid. But he's gonna get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think people need to make a massive deal about this. He'll get in next year. If not, he'll get in the year after. It doesn't matter. Just voter fatigue and people trying to make excuses, and some people just didn't like the way he handled the media, and some people didn't like the way he answered questions. It doesn't matter. He's still going to get in. So
the only real issue I have with it is how many guys, have been first ballot guys that have similar issues with their past, like even player-wise, just similar problems or just off the field issues or had issues with, media. But when it comes to Bill Belichick, that shouldn't matter. How does this affect Tom Brady? Is Tom Brady not a first ballot Hall of Famer? He's the greatest to ever do it. You know what I mean? Like he's all tied up in this too.
Yeah, Tom Brady's an unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer.
How is Bill Belichick not then? Like, I understand. See, I will
Some
say
people
this.
said that Bill Belichick only succeeded because of Tom Brady and because of those teams. So I don't agree with that.
No.
But it's like I said, it's just voters being petty. That's how they are. There was a whole thing with Ichiro Suzuki in the MLB. He wasn't an unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer because one guy voted against him. One.
Yep.
It's just people trying to be different. It's just people trying to act like they're higher above everybody.
Well, that's why people who are voters.
Derek Jeter was supposed to be an unanimous Hall of Famer, and I think it was one or two. It was either two guys or it was one guy. Same thing with Ichiro. Didn't vote for him. So
that's why whoever votes should, change all the time, I think. Or, better yet, at least put your name to it. Put your name and back it up. At least one person I saw from Kansas City, one of like their newspaper or radio row or something, put his name out there and said, yeah, I didn't vote for him. I voted for some other guys who I thought were snubbed for a long time anyway. So I put them in to give them their chance, which I applaud because he put his name out there. You got to put your name out there, though. You know what I mean? You can't just act like, oh, I can't believe this happened. Oh, I voted for him, but in reality, you didn't. I'd like that to me. No, you got to at least back it up. Be like, yeah, I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him because I think that what happened with Spygate, with Deflategate, or anything else, or some of these other people who have been snubbed in the past just deserved a chance to finally get in. And, Bill Belichick is the greatest coach of all time, regardless of what people say. of if Tom Brady carried him. Of course, it's Tom Brady. Tom Brady had to have at some capacity, but he won 6 Super Bowls as a head coach. Like, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing? He's got 2 as an assistant.
Bill Belichick
He's
is the
got.
greatest head coach of all time until Todd Monken comes in the door.
Let's get to it now, shall we? Let's just get to it now. Head coaching, since we've last talked, we've had 3 head coaching vacancies get filled. We've had Pittsburgh with Mike McCarthy. We have had.
Ass.
Yes. We've now had Cleveland with Todd Monken, which we will dive
More
into
ass.
very, very deeply. That happened at the time of recording, happened the day before. We were going to record that day. I'm kind of glad we did not. It allowed me to collect my thoughts. And I'm turning Joe Brady. Joe Brady's the other one in Buffalo.
Even worse than all of them.
Let's start with Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh. Let's just get Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh and Joe Brady in Buffalo out the way.
White Mike Tomlin next.
He's from
Pretty
Pittsburgh.
much the same person. It's going to be the same results. 9-8.
Here's the thing though about Pittsburgh. They've never hired someone who's old. Like they've always been a younger guy and they've allowed him to develop. Like Mike McCarthy is in his 60s. Like this is completely against the grain for them because they always go young and they always have him around for a long time. They decided, nah, we want Aaron Rodgers to be our quarterback for the next 2 years. Let's just bring in Mike McCarthy. Like this is so not Pittsburgh. Like I thought they would have gone and gotten like a Brian Flores, a Chris Shula. I
thought Brian Flores would have been great.
I heard Chris Shula absolutely bombed the interview process this year.
Yeah, he also bombed the NFC title game. He sucks.
He did do that. I'm just shocked that Pittsburgh actually did go Mike McCarthy. It felt like it was just people throwing it out there just because of him being a Pittsburgh native and Pittsburgh just having him as maybe like a backup plan. I didn't think they were really going Mike McCarthy at all. So it did kind of shock me, but he is a Yinzer. So I should have thought a little bit harder about that. With Buffalo and Joe Brady, that one's a little more shocking because you would have thought that they would have gone out of the building at least to bring in some new blood. And it's not that Joe Brady can't be a good head coach, and it's not that Joe Brady isn't a bad coach at all. It's just that it felt like Buffalo was just trying to get away from like the Sean McDermott era. They just needed something new. And I think this really stems because of Josh Allen and Joe Brady's relationship. They wanted to keep Josh Allen happy. You hire Joe Brady. Joe Brady's a very bright mind, and he's a young guy still too. I don't know how to work out though. I really don't. We'll have to see what kind of changes. Like they need some wide receivers
I feel
up
like
in
they could
Buffalo.
have done much better.
They need some wide receivers because it has not worked out the last couple years in free agency. Curtis Samuel has not panned out. You lost Stephon Diggs. You have Khalil Shakir as your wide receiver 1. You haven't been able to draft one, and Keon Coleman and that whole situation. Buffalo's got to do a couple things there organizationally to really get back to where they had been the last 5, 6, 7 years. Even though you have Josh Allen to cover it up, that's why you hire this coach to make him happy. You know.
I guess. I mean, Joe Brady's offense wasn't all that great. I mean, they were decent at times, but you have Josh Allen. You're going to look good with Josh Allen no matter who you have calling plays. And their offense stalled out at times, and they don't really utilize their weapons except James Cook because that's all they have. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think it's that great of a hire, but then again, maybe it turns out right. Maybe something happens, but it just seems like sure, why not hire?
It is. If
they would have done it earlier, they could have had a shot at John Harbaugh.
Well, John Harbaugh is now in a little bit of a pickle himself because before we get into the Cleveland Browns, I need to take a sip of some nondescript diet soda. Cleanses the palate. All right. Cleveland Browns. 24 days. 24 days, Spencer. 24 days.
And what was 24 days?
24 days from when they fired Kevin Stefanski to hiring their new head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Now, from the very beginning, they were just pumping it out there. Young, offensive-minded guy.
Yep.
Be different than everybody else. Let's go and get a 30-year-old coordinator from the Jags, or let's go get a pass game coordinator who still might be a year or two away from really being a head coach, but this could be the next Sean McVay. And what do? Not they. What he does, because we know it's Jimmy Haslam. Jimmy Haslam says, nah, I want a guy because I want Jim Schwartz back. And Todd Monken wants Jim Schwartz to be his DC. So I want him. Even though Jimmy Haslam definitely wanted just Jim Schwartz. I think that's pretty clear. Jimmy Haslam wanted Jim Schwartz as head coach. Andrew Berry wanted Nate Scheelhaase as head coach. You're telling me that Cleveland Brass, the only one they flew to in person, they flew from Cleveland to LA in the middle of a blizzard. You had a foot of snow in Cleveland. They said, nah, we're going to LA. We're flying through it. We don't care. We're going to see Scheelhaase. Everyone else had to come to them. They flew to Scheelhaase. Like, it's pretty evident Nate Scheelhaase was the guy. Like, really in the building with the Andrew Berry likes. Like, he was clearly their person. And you settle because Jimmy Haslam is Jimmy Haslam. And you get Todd Monken. Now, I'm not going to go out here and shade Todd Monken too much. I was very, very upset with the news yesterday. I had a couple wellness checks come in over here. We're good over here at Ball N Beatz Media. I just need to let everyone know that. I was very upset with the news. Let me word that better. Thinking it over this past day, Todd Monken is a very good offensive-minded guy. He is cutthroat. He is no BS. I think, to a certain extent, it is a good hire. Optically, it is an awful hire. It kind of shows what Cleveland's always been, which is dysfunctional, regardless of what Jimmy Haslam wants to say in that press conference when they fired Kevin Stefanski. He said he takes exception to being called dysfunctional. And Jimmy, I mean, if I ever meet you, I'll tell you to your face you're dysfunctional. And I love you, Jimmy. I don't love you, but I love you because you're my owner. You're the Cleveland Browns owner.
You don't have to love your owner. I
just love the organization. You know what I mean? Todd Monken has been a head coach one time at Southern Mississippi. He did have a losing record there, but his final year he took them to a bowl game. It was a massive rebuild. They were an awful organization, awful program at the time when he went there. He made them bowl eligible. He was the OC of the Georgia Bulldogs when they won 2 national titles with Stetson Bennett. And he's been there under Kirby Smart. So he's been around him. He's been around John Harbaugh. He's been in Cleveland. He was the offensive coordinator in the Freddie Kitchens days. And you know what he was doing that year? He was telling everyone how dysfunctional this organization was to every other coach they were playing against that year. And it's come full circle because he wants to be a head coach. I think when you have a reaction like you do for Todd Monken, you need to kind of take a step back and kind of reflect. Maybe this is going to be better than what I anticipate. You know what I mean? Because usually when you have a bad reaction, that's usually sometimes a good sign. But it's Cleveland, so it's never.
As your pet thing as OC, so
so I think I think there's room for this to be good because I think Todd Monken told Jimmy Haslam, "I want to work with Shadur Sanders." It's funny because he could maybe try and work with Deshaun Watson. I don't want to bring up that name anymore in Cleveland, but it's a legit truth. He works well with, athletic quarterbacks in particular. But what this does, we haven't even discussed the Jim Schwartz part of this because, Jim Schwartz.
That's the biggest issue that I take. Jim Schwartz thing.
Jim Schwartz said, "I'm not the head coach. I don't want to be here."
He said "F you" and left, essentially.
He said, "I'm out of here." Now we'll see.
Now he's still under contract,
yes,
so he can't just straight up leave. He's under contract,
but he could 49ers might be lurking in the back.
He could retire or something, I guess, or
It's Jim
Yeah,
Schwartz.
the
He would
49ers
do.
can go get him.
Jim Schwartz would be the guy that would take this to the nth degree to leave. You know what I mean? Like he would be that person. And to be honest with
I
you,
had him as my head coach for years. I know all about it.
to be honest with you, like I completely understand where Jim Schwartz is coming from because
I'd be pissed too.
he felt like
I
he
would.
had the shoe in. And what I've heard now, since the dust has kind of settled a little bit, he was going to react this way regardless of who the head coach was, except if it was him, because he felt like he truly deserved to get that head coaching job. He thought he did enough to be the head coach for Cleveland moving forward, and he wants another head coaching gig. I think that's very, very evident. And I will say, rightfully so, the way he's done with our defense. I think he deserves another crack. Some guys don't. I mean, he was in Detroit. He went, 29-51-1 or something as his head coaching career up in Detroit. It wasn't great.
Like one solid season. Other than that, it was disappointing.
It wasn't great, of course, but I mean, he has Cleveland as a perennial top 5, top 7 defense. Now, I will say on the road, it's been a little different. But at home, they're one of the best defenses to face in the entire NFL. They have the longest active streak defensively of having quarterbacks throw less than 300 yards a game. Like a lot of people don't even know that stat. We haven't had a quarterback throw for 300 plus yards in a game on Cleveland's defense in 2 seasons. Cleveland's defense is locked down. If we lose Jim Schwartz and we have some free agents, some sneaky free agents, I never knew Devin Bush was going to be a very, very good linebacker for the Browns, and he has rejuvenated his NFL career in Cleveland next to Carson Schweschinger, he might not win Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think he will, but if he doesn't, it wouldn't be all too shocking, but he's one of the finalists. If he's not first, he's second. Of course, Myles Garrett posting on his Instagram story of the Popeyes lady bent over like this. So I think we know his mindset.
Tired of it.
Do we blame him though? I don't, but I do. I do partially because
he's the one who signed the contract. He's the one who signed this contract. He knew the Browns were in a rebuild. He knew the Browns were not in a great spot. He still took the money. No one's feeling sorry for you for making $40 million a year. No, it's on him. It's his fault. He could have easily got last summer when he had that request, or when he had the trade request, and he had this whole thing about how he loves Cleveland, but he needs to go somewhere where he can win. And then, a few months later, oh, actually, no, I'm good. I love you guys. I just used it as leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. You would have made $40 million anywhere. It doesn't matter. You would have made $40 million anywhere you went, but he chose Cleveland. He's loyal. But I don't know how much longer he can take it, if he can at all.
Who knows? Maybe he's a Detroit Lion in 2026.
I would
Whoa.
And would not stop. So you guys can have 3 first-round picks. I don't care.
Expletives. Nice expletives there. But hey, it's Myles Garrett. It's sort of understandable. Cleveland, just the way it was, like the way it was operated, the way the messaging was, it's almost like they just try and be different. Of course, you hear everything with like the essays people have to write and stuff. I will say this. I think a lot of that's overblown because it's Cleveland and they want to make it seem like Cleveland's even more dysfunctional than what they are. But in reality, when you're applying for a job, don't you kind of want to see if people really want to be there or not? You know what I mean? Like, I understand a little bit of why they would do something like that. Like, I do get it. It makes sense. Because you have to for most other jobs you apply for. You know what I mean? All the jobs we apply for and don't hear anything back from, we have to still do it. You know what I mean? Like, regular humans have to do it every day, so why can't NFL coaches? I get it. Yes, Cleveland definitely still runs everything completely different than everybody else. I'm not disputing that. That's obvious because it never works. For the most part, you had Kevin Stefanski, a 2-time coach of the year, say, I'm done with this, and they were done with him too. It'll be intriguing.
Make the playoffs in year 1.
Oh, he'll make it to the Super Bowl somehow with Atlanta. Watch Michael Penix get like MVP votes next year, and Bijan Robinson have a career season, and That defense is also pretty nasty with Jalen Walker and James Pierce and Jesse Bates still there. I think Bates
We
might be
got
a
some
free
pieces.
agent. Still have AJ Terrell at corner. One of the more forgotten
still
about
need
corners, I
to-
think, right now.
But
Who knows? Maybe Penix is the answer, dude. We'll
they
to
have
see.
literally everything else except a quarterback.
But they have the
Their
quarterback
O
that
line
he.
isn't amazing.
You
I
gotta
should say that.
you gotta
They
think
need to
about it,
help
though.
on them. But,
Yeah, tackle position, I would say they got nice guards.
Yeah.
But he has Kirk Cousins now. Come on, it's Kevin Stefanski and Kirk Cousins. It's like a match made in heaven. You telling me no?
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, I totally forgot. I always forget that Stefanski was the OC in Minnesota.
For like a decade. Well, he was on that coaching staff for over a decade in Minnesota, but he was their OC for like 2 years. It's a match made in heaven with Kirk Cousins. Who knows? I think Penix still has it in him to really turn things around. He just hasn't had the right coaching staff. And that's usually what happens is fit. Who knows if it'll fit with Kevin Stefanski? Who knows? But Cleveland, man, the way they operate, they're just different. And I will say this: I don't think Cleveland media makes it any easier.
The Browns, the AFC North next year. Monken will rejuvenate Deshaun Watson's career, and the Browns will win the North for the first time since 1989.
It was the AFC Central last time they won.
Yeah, I remember being at that stage too.
You remember watching the Browns win the AFC Central?
The Buccaneers won the division that the Lions were in.
Yeah.
The Lions won the division a couple years ago and won back-to-back NFC North titles. But yeah,
Cleveland, man. I will say, started saying it a little bit. Cleveland media doesn't make it any easier either. I think they like to stir the pot more than any other fan base known to man, because you go on Twitter and you see all these Cleveland fans or media people who really don't know, but they just love to stir the pot to make people think they know. To be honest, some of them are right. I'll tip my cap to Mary Kay Cabot. She gets a lot of BS thrown her way. She said from the very beginning, never count out Todd Monken. She nailed that one. And it's time to move off the NFL. I'm over it. Not really over it. I could talk it all day, but I need to take another sip of this undescripted diet soda, which you can obviously tell what it is, but they're not sponsor. You can't, but they're not a sponsor. If they want to, they can.
Was it Coke, Dr. Pepper?
We don't say. But what?
Real quickly, in random news, Absolute Vodka?
Yes.
Absolute Vodka is making a Tabasco flavored vodka.
That's gross. That's gross. For anyone who does drink out there, as long as you are over the age of 21, let us know if you like Tabasco vodka.
But no, yeah, let's make sure.
The real thing is, and the real reason why you're here is because you need to subscribe to the channel.
Yes.
You should hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos. You should follow us on our Instagram page. Our Instagram page is going to be pretty active the next week or two. Should follow us on TikTok as well. We go live every Monday night at 11 p.m. Try our best to anyway. And you should follow us on our own personal Instagrams, because I'm basically Ian Rappaport. So
yes, you are.
And you should follow Spencer, because he's basically the Detroit Lions beat writer of Ball N Beatz Media. So you should follow him as well. All right. Way too early college football rankings for the 2026 college football season. The B&B poll. But we have both of our B&B polls, if you will. So, obviously, around here, we don't do 25, we do 20. And Spencer, I'll start with you. Who's your way too early number 20? Pull it up. And while you pull it up, I'm going to throw a caveat out here. These are not set in stone rankings. It is the end of January. These can change. We can get new information throughout the offseason.
They're not allowed to change.
They are allowed to change.
They're set in stone.
These are the rankings when the season starts, too. Yes, obviously. No. But genuinely, this is just our way too early rankings.
We can.
Spencer,
right.
who's number
I'll
20?
run through mine. Number 20, I got Okie State.
Why Okie State at number 20?
Okie State. Well, I like me some Eric Morris and I like me some Drew Mestemaker. They had one of the top portal classes in the country. And I believe because of Indiana, I believe in 1 year turnarounds with new, bright, young head coaches and, well, I guess grizzled veterans like Kurt Signetti. But I just believe in 1 year turnarounds. I believe if you get your quarterback and you get your head coach, you can do a lot. And I will be very excited for week 2 because it's Oregon at Oklahoma State. That's going to be a very interesting game to watch for both teams to see where they rank up. And I think even if Oklahoma State doesn't win that game, if they kind of like hold steady with Oregon and they kind of hold their ground, I think Okie State could be up there to win the Big 12. But we got to see. Obviously, they had a really bad year last year, but they're bringing in a lot, and I like Drew Estemaker. So
That's fair. Yeah. Number 20 for me, I've got the Louisville Cardinals.
Louisville.
Whatever you want to say, Louisville. It's Louisville. I agree with you. Look, Jeff Brom is a very, very good head coach. The biggest thing, I think, for them, they kept Isaac Brown, their stud running back. If he would have hit the portal, which he did try and hit the portal, but he returned, he would have been the number 1 running back in the country to hit the portal. And they have their backup, both Browns, coming back. So, and they have Lincoln Keenholz coming in from Ohio State to be their quarterback. I think he's probably their starter day 1, at least right now. They have tight ends returning. They do have some wide receiver questions I have. They're losing Chris Bell, their stud, to the NFL. He did have injury problems as well in the past. He did have ACL tear, but we will talk about him a little bit more down the road. I'm pretty high on Chris Bell, just so you know. But I like Louisville a lot. I do. And they are going to be very good. I have questions in the interior, their defensive line. I have questions really along that whole O line. They have a brand new starting lineup probably going in this year for their offensive line. But outside of that, they have a lot of talent. And I'm very high on that Isaac Brown kid. He is one of the best running backs in the country. I think he can carry Louisville a little bit in the ACC. Who you got at 19?
At number 19, I have Virginia Tech.
Ooh,
I
James
trust James
Franklin.
Franklin to have a top 20, well, top 25, but I'll throw a top 20 in because we're only doing the top 20. I trust him to turn things around. Virginia Tech's bringing in a ton of recruits that he had from Penn State. And he also, Ethan Grunkemeyer coming to Virginia Tech as well.
Yep.
But I believe that with all these recruits that he's bringing in from Penn State, I have a full belief that while Virginia Tech didn't have a great year last year, they had a lot of guys leave because of the transfer portal. And now they got a brand new head coach who we know can win. We know can go 10-2 every year. I believe in what Franklin does, and I believe in a system. And I think that at least for now, they can they could be there at 19. Why not? The ACC isn't all that amazing anyway. So
For me at number 19, it's a team you already said, the Oklahoma State Cowboys. I'm just as high on them as you are. Drew Mestemaker, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, period, last year as a true freshman, a kid who'd never started at the high school level. Eric Morris, the job he did there when he was at North Texas, exceptional. Caleb Hawkins, the wide receiver, actually running back, and then Wyatt Young, wide receiver, coming with him as well. All of the star players from North Texas are coming to Oklahoma State. And the Big 12, although I think the Big 12 is very clearly the number 3 conference in the country, I still think there's a lot of wiggle room in that middle of the pack to really bump themselves up to be towards the top. Oklahoma State, I agree with you. I think year 1, they could make some noise in the Big 12. There's some other teams that I will get to here as well who I think can make some noise in the Big 12 as well. But I like what Oklahoma State done. You had that reset from Mike Gundy. It's no shade to Mike Gundy. He did great things for that program over his tenure there. Just was time for both of them to move on. In Oklahoma State, they got some new life, and I think it could really, really bounce back in year 1. Spencer, who's at 18?
At number 18 is America's team, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
Woo!
Familiarize yourself with Micah Alejado, I think is how you say his last name.
Alejado, something like
Alejado.
dude can
It's,
throw the
it's,
rock.
it's something like that. They're also returning their best wide receiver in Jackson Harris, who had close to 1,000 yards last year. Let's have some fun in the Mountain West this year. Let's get Hawaii. They went 9-4 last year. They had a really solid year,
Mm-hmm.
and why not?
See, here's the thing about
Why
the Mountain
not?
West too, man. Like a lot of people who haven't paid attention, the Mountain West is going to look completely different because a lot of these top schools are going to the Pac-12. You're going to have Boise State, you're going to have Utah State, you're going to have San Diego State, Colorado State, and another one, Fresno State. They're all going to the Pac-12. So there's going to be some wiggle room here for the Mountain West. I don't have them in my rankings. Another team you got to watch out for is Jason Eck and the New Mexico Lobos. Both of those, I think Hawaii and New Mexico are two teams to kind of
New Mexico's
circle.
and Hawaii's returning a ton of their starters.
Both of those teams are ones to watch for next season for sure. I like the boldness of throwing Hawaii up here in your way too early BNB poll rankings. For me at number 18, I just got an affinity for this program. And I think, I don't know if you paid attention at all to the East-West Shrine Bowl. The quarterback of this team was probably the best quarterback there for that this year. He's not obviously returning to this program next year. The Iowa Hawkeyes and my affinity for Mark Gronowski. All right, I just have to throw it out there. There was a love-hate relationship with Mark Gronowski, more love than hate. But Iowa is returning Kamari Moulton, who might be
for Iowa Hawkeyes.
They're 8-4, but dude, they were so much better than 8-4 this season. I'm not gonna lie, I was right
They have a
about
deal
Iowa.
with the devil. They have to go 8-4.
I was right about the Hawkeyes this year. I don't know if everyone else watched it. They had an offense. They had an offense.
They
Their
should have
defense was
beat
still
Indiana.
defense. Should have beat Indiana. I'm trying to remember who else they should have beat. There was another team they should have beat too. They should have been 10-2.
They only
Oregon,
lost
yeah, that's
to
right.
Oregon.
If they win both those games, they're in the playoff, dude. They're a playoff team this year. And the thing about Iowa is they're returning most of their talent. They are losing, of course, some pieces, but they're returning, like I said, Kamari Moulton. He's going to be one of the better running backs in the Big Ten. He already was this past year. I expect him to take an even better jump next year. They're returning a lot on offensive line. Trevor Lowick, I forget how to say his last name. He's one of the best offensive linemen. They are losing Jennings Dunker. That dude has been nasty down at the Senior Bowl. He's been turning a lot of heads down there. But there's still a lot of pieces on that secondary, dude. They are losing safety Xavier Wankpa, who was a debate between Ohio State and Iowa coming out. He's graduated now. Stud, he might get picked in the later rounds of the NFL draft, but they will have pieces to replace him. And the only real question for Iowa is quarterback. And there's one guy they're really high on. His name is Jeremy Helinski. Jeremy Hecklinski. That's what it is. Hecklinski. He might be the guy to circle for Iowa for their starting quarterback next year. There's a lot of faith in him in Iowa City. And if you actually watched Iowa football this year, there's a lot of faith in offense, period, that we have not seen out of the Hawkeyes in a decade. Except against Ohio State, that one random game with JT Barrett and Josh Jackson. Outside of that game, there hasn't been offense in a decade, and there was this year. And I think it'll keep getting better in Iowa. So that's my preseason, way too early, number 18, Spencer. Moving on to 17.
Iowa. Just for those reasons, I don't really got to say much. The Iowa Hawkeyes. They always find a way to. They're always in the top 20 anyway. So
they are, and they should just be pretty much stamped in there, anywhere from like 16 to 20. Number 17 for me, the team who really finished the year very hot, a team who I don't think a lot of people really circled or talked about too much, but kind of deserve a lot more discussion in what their head coach did. Is probably one of the better coaching jobs all season was Willie Fritz down at Houston in the Big 12. Connor Wegman transferred from Texas A&M. He balled out this year. They have a lot of returning pieces. Real question I have is running back. Their running back depth is taking a big hit. They have some transfers coming in. They have Mekhi Hughes from Oregon coming in. He didn't do much at Oregon. He had originally transferred to Oregon from somewhere else and kind of just fell down the depth chart because that Oregon running game is just stout, one of the best in the country last year. Actually, I think statistically was the best in the country. But Houston has a lot of other pieces. They got a lot of good wide receiver depth coming back. They have a lot of linebackers. This team is filled with linebacker talent, maybe some of the best linebackers in the country next year. And they also have the number 4 overall prospect in the country and the number 1 quarterback coming in Keyshawn Henderson, who I think could rotate in with Connor Wegman and probably get some plays of his own in his freshman season. Houston is a team to circle for me in the Big 10, not Big 10, Big 12 for next season. I think they could take a serious jump, maybe compete to the level of Texas Tech. I'm not putting them that high for that reason yet, but that's one to really circle is the Houston Cougars. Number 16.
I got Ole Miss. I don't think this is based off of Trinidad Chambliss not coming back. So I don't think he is. It's just I know that he's trying to appeal and they got all this stuff going but I think with the NFL draft, he might go a lot higher than people think. Now with this whole the quarterback class is just horrific this year in the NFL. But I have trust in Pete Golding, and I have trust that with this turnover that they've had at Ole Miss, getting them to the semifinals where they could have won against Miami. I got a ton of trust in him going forward with Ole Miss. And I think that he's going to get them as a perennial, at least close to a perennial playoff team. So I'll go with Ole Miss at 16.
You and I completely agree at number 16. I also have Ole Miss. And for the exact same reason that I have them this low, it's kind of depending on Chambliss and what happens
If
there.
Chambliss comes back,
they might be top
they'll
10.
go higher.
They might be top 10. But they still have Keywan Lacey. They have Deuce Alexander. They did return as well. I think Daquan Wright, their starting tight end as well. They have Deuce Knight coming in, the Auburn transfer, true freshman kid last year at Auburn. He only played in one game where he started and obviously was against an FCS program. But Auburn's like, why was this kid not starting all year? Now, of course, Auburn with Alex Golish, Byron Brown, and all the guys from South Florida coming in. Deuce Knight hits the portal, goes to Ole Miss instead. So that's one to watch. If Chambliss is not back, expect Deuce Knight to probably be day one starter there at Ole Miss. They did lose Prince Will Uman-Malin to the portal to LSU, who I think is a very big loss. Probably their best defensive player. They still have Santarine Perkins, who I always got confused with Harold Perkins, even though I loved Harold Perkins at LSU. And the problem is with his injuries, his NFL career might not be exactly what people hoped of him. But Santarine Perkins is an absolute stud linebacker, too. Pete Golding went in the portal. We haven't even talked about this yet, too. He went in the portal and stole a guy who signed with Clemson at linebacker from Cal. Transferred from Cal to Clemson, signed, was in classes, and said, oh, here's an offer for you because there's no such thing as tampering in this sport. Come to Ole Miss instead. And Luke Farrelly. Luke Farrelly will probably be a starter opposite of Santarine Perkins in the linebacking room as well. To me, the biggest one was Keywan Lacey coming back. He was the best running back in the SEC this year.
Yes.
And for him to be back in Oxford definitely opens up the floodgates for that offense. Now, wide receiver, they still have a good amount of their pieces. And honestly, you can't really question Ole Miss at wide receiver ever because they seem to always have just one absolute stud.
Some sort of stout, caliber receiver.
So, which is Deuce Alexander. He's coming back. That's a massive one. With Ole Miss, that's where they are right now. They are very subject to change, but I like you and I both agree with that. Right at 16. It's a good spot.
Yep.
It's a good spot. Who you got at number 15?
USC. Jordan Mailata and the USC Trojans. This is a big year for Lincoln Riley. I feel like he has to make the playoffs at some point. Again, it's been a while since he's made the playoffs, and he hasn't made them with USC. The Big Ten, if people think that the Big Ten was tough this year, it's going to be even tougher next year because Penn State's going to improve. Michigan, I think, is going to improve under Whittingham. USC, I think, is going to be better. I think Iowa's going to get a little bit better. Oregon's going to stay the same. Ohio State should stay the same. And Indiana is going to probably stay the same as well. So it's going to be really tough in the Big Ten next year. But there's a lot of really good matchups that USC is going to be involved in this year. They play Michigan. They play Ohio State. They play Oregon. And I'm going to be really interested to see how they fare out against those teams because it's a big year for USC and it's a big year for Lincoln Riley. He's got to get it at some point.
Right. USC is one that I'm very, very high on this year. I'll talk about them a little bit later. Number 15 for me, some might call it a stretch a little bit, but it's a program that I'm kind of throwing out there as one to watch and one that I think could take a serious, serious jump next season. I'm going with the California Golden Bears, Cal Berkeley, with Tosh Lapoy coming in, the defensive coordinator, former defensive coordinator at Oregon, with Jaron Kiawe Sagapulatele. Look at me. I know how to speak.
Good job.
The quarterback for the Cal Golden Bears, originally signed with Oregon, coming in, quickly hit the portal, went back to Cal where he was previously committed to start, stayed for another year at Cal, and they keep adding pieces around him on offense. They're bringing in some pieces. Jordan King is an offensive piece. Transfer portal guys. They've got a lot of portal additions. One that I like a lot, backup running back from Jonah Coleman this year at Washington, Adam Muhammad. One to really help boost that backfield. Ian Strong is another transfer. Chase Hendricks, wide receiver from Ohio. That one, he's going to be probably the wide receiver one this year, Chase Hendricks from Ohio. Of course, MAC guys here. Have to promote MAC guys.
Yep.
But I love Tosh Lapoy. I think Tosh Lapoy is built to be a very, very good head coach. He's doing it at his alma mater.
Tosh Lapoy giving up 56 to Indiana.
Tosh Lapoy giving up 56 to Indiana.
Was it 55 or 56?
It was 56.
Was
I
it
love
56?
some Tosh Lapoy, but he was a foot out the door anyway. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you play, a semifinal game in the current format and structure of college football where everybody can just already have a foot out the door.
Yep.
You see how it works. So, but I'm a big fan of him, and I'm going to keep promoting the Cal Golden Bears. I'm not going to sit here and throw them in the playoff just yet. And we will see. We have a lot of months to really try and break this down a little bit more. But that's a team who I'm very high on, a team who I think could maybe take a massive jump.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch would be proud. Number 14.
I got Penn State. Matt Campbell's bringing in a ton of his guys from Iowa State. A lot of the recruits. They have a solid transfer portal class. Rocco Becht is going to be in for his last year, and he's going to be going to Penn State to be the Nittany Lions quarterback. I expect Penn State to do solid to good this year. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but I think like a 8-4, 9-3 season is what they'll get with Matt Campbell's first year at Penn State. That's normally what Matt Campbell went at Iowa State anyway, or 7-5. But they'll have a winning year. They'll make a bowl game. But I think for it to start out, I think Penn State will have a lot of hype because I think they have a lot of solid starters coming in from Iowa State, and they have a lot of pieces coming in from the portal. And Rocco Becht obviously is going to be that big, the big decision maker behind at the quarterback position. So yeah, I'll go with Penn State at 14.
Thing for me, it was hard to put Penn State in the rankings. They're not in my way too early rankings, and like I said, I can come around to it a little more throughout the year. I'm not opposed to putting them in my.
They also have a
rankings.
very easy schedule next year.
That's, I guess, a
Our
beneficiary.
terrible.
It's hard because of just all the change. I like Matt Campbell a lot. I like Rocco Becht a lot. I like Iowa State, period. It's just hard because of just all the change to really put them up there right now for me. Now, like I said, if we get to July, early August, and my opinion can change, but it's hard to see year one being all that great for Penn State, even with their schedule. Right now, they could just become world beaters out of nowhere and do what they were supposed to this past year, for next year. Who knows? But for me, I just can't put Penn State in the rankings currently. Number 14, this is a team who I think could fall off a little bit. Not fall off to the extent of being not in the playoff or pushing for the playoff. I don't know if it's going to be the same this year. Texas A&M, I have at 14 coming into the year. Of course, they have Marcel Reed back. They did lose Le'Veon Moss, running back. They will still have Ruben Owens back. They'll have Mario Craver. They'll have Ashton Bethel Roman, but they are losing KC Concepcion. I think he's a big piece of that offense this year. They'll need to really replace him. They did get Isaiah Horton. I don't think Isaiah Horton is the same receiver as KC Concepcion. But I do have some questions. I do have questions. Their tight ends have like nothing there at tight end. They have brand new coordinators. Colin Klein's now the head coach at Kansas State, and their defensive coordinator also is now he's the defensive coordinator. I'm trying to remember where their current defensive coordinator went, but they have completely new coordinators. Their offensive coordinator now is Holman Wiggins. Their defensive coordinator now is Lyle Hemphill. So they have new coordinators on both sides of the ball. We'll have to see how much that changes. They are losing Cassius Howell as well, who's a top 25, top 30 prospect in this NFL draft class at edge, which is he's a better edge than Shamar Stewart was coming out of college too. So he was a lot more productive, a lot more skillful than Shamar Stewart was. So I have some questions. They're losing a lot of pieces. So I'm dropping them now. We'll see if everyone else on that roster can live up to it.
Number 13, I have Michigan. Kyle Whittingham coming in, obviously, after Sharon Moore got fired. Kyle Whittingham, I think, is a really, really good head coach. He did a lot of really good things at Utah. He's bringing in a toughness mentality to Michigan that they seem to have with every coach they hire. I like a lot of their transfer portal guys that they got from Utah. I like that they hired BYU's defensive coordinator. I think Michigan's going to be good next year. And I do think that we need to see more from Bryce Underwood. I think we will. He didn't have a quarterbacks coach last year, which is kind of ridiculous for a true freshman.
Absolutely ridiculous.
They have a running back room that's going to be really good. They have Savion Hitter coming in, the 5-star running back. Jordan Marshall's coming back. What next? That one guy's name, like Kuzdal or whatever, is coming back.
Bryson Kuzdal, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Michigan's going to be pretty good next year. So I'll have them at 13.
13 for me is a team you already said as well, a little bit lower on your list at 15. I'm going with USC up at 13 because I am very high on Jaden Mayava, and I think that he's probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country skill-wise. I think he's going to be that good. Yes, he's losing Makai Lemon. Yes, he's losing Jacoby Lane at wide receiver. But the running game, I think, is going to take a jump next year. They still have Wayman Jordan and King Miller in the backfield. They still have Tanook Hines, who I think is an underrated wide receiver. They went out in the transfer portal, got Terrell Anderson. And I really like the fact that they got Gary Patterson as their defensive coordinator. I think a lot of people forgot about Gary Patterson as a coach. He was the head coach at TCU for a long time and has been out of the coaching ranks since. So Gary Patterson as defensive coordinator actually kind of elevates USC, I think, in a sense. I think you'll see a lot better defensive play out of the Trojans. And you did see a step forward this past year for them. I think they'll take a bigger jump. I think USC is ready to really compete in the Big Ten. I think they'll be a top 5 team in the Big Ten, period. I'm high on USC this year. I think they could be a playoff team. I know their schedule is brutal. Schedule is tough. This year for the Big Ten kind of feels like it's what the SEC's been, or if you want to say it anyway, the last couple years. So I'm high on USC a lot this year.
Number 12, I have BYU. I really like Kalani Sitake. I feel like he's just going to always have a winning record at BYU. He obviously got that extension after there was talks of him leaving for Penn State. And then Crumble Cookie got some money riled up for him so that way he can stay there in Provo, Utah. And Bear Bachmeyer is going to be back. I think he's going to be better. He's going to improve a lot this year. And I think the Big 12 overall is going to be a very good conference. I think BYU is going to be up there with Texas Tech to be competing for the top spot. So, yeah, I'll go with BYU at 12.
Number 12 for me. This one was a hard one because I think they could be a lot higher. but because of some other teams who I think are just more put together right now, I kind of had to put them a little bit lower on my list. And all the hype and everything. LSU at number 12. Sam Levitt coming in. Jordan Seaton at tackle. Literally the entire roster is pretty much portal guys. Prince Willem and Malin, who I mentioned already. They've got a bunch of different portal guys. They still, I believe, have one wide receiver on the entire roster. I'm trying to remember which one it is. But they lost Barry and Brown. I don't think they have Aaron Anderson next year. But they have a bunch of portal guys. They got Eugene Wilson from Florida. I've got way too many people on this list because it's LSU. I got to remember which one's a wide receiver. Too many of them. They have way too many of them. But they have Whit Weeks.
They have a lot of good players. All right.
Yes, they have a lot of good players. And, of course, being at LSU, he's also been able to recruit a lot better. And he's probably going to have a freshman play right away in Lamar Brown, one of the better prospects in this recruiting class at defensive end. It's just hard. I got to see everything kind of put itself together, if you will. Charlie Weiss still might be available for other NFL offensive coordinator jobs, the way some of these jobs are still open. So it'll be intriguing to see if Charlie Weiss still leaves LSU and not even be there. They will have Blake Baker at defensive coordinator, who I love. We watched that LSU defense completely change last season. If only they had the offense of the previous years with Brian Kelly, this LSU team would have been put together and would have been a genuine national title contender. Under Lane Kiffin, I don't think you have to worry about offense that much. So, 12 for now, willing to move up.
Number 11, I have Oklahoma. I think that Brent Venables had his team on the right track this year. Obviously, they finally made the playoffs, lost to Alabama in the first round, but got a home playoff game. Finally got over that hump and made the playoffs for the first time. And it's been some years since they had won the 14 playoff. I really like this Oklahoma roster. They're returning a good amount of guys. Obviously, keeping the quarterback really helps a ton. But I really like what Oklahoma's got there. I think Brent Venables is going to build off this year that he had making it as the 8th seed in the playoffs. I think Oklahoma will be up there to make the playoffs again this year. Or next season, I should say.
Chase Brown was the name I was thinking of from Kansas State, wide receiver for LSU. Just had to throw it out there. That dude was a stud. I agree with you. Number 11, Oklahoma. John Mateer back. You have Isaiah Satania back at wide receiver. You've got a lot of returning pieces. You are losing R. Mason Thomas, one of the better edge rushers in the country, which could be a little bit of a damper on you. But I think Oklahoma went out there and they proved a lot this year. And I think they have a lot of pieces to really return for next year to build off of. And the fact that they got John Mateer back. Now, he might not be the best quarterback you've ever seen. He might be one of the more exciting ones in college football based off his skill set. They need to run the ball better, man. That's the one thing.
Yep.
They could not run the ball with any running back this year. If their running game is minutely better and everything else stays up to par, Oklahoma could be a borderline top 5 team in the country. I like them a lot. Just got to see that running game and everything else fall into place. But Brent Venables, you got something cooking at Oklahoma. Both of us at number 11. Before we get into our top 10, you should subscribe to the channel.
Yes,
you should just follow us.
Everything.
You should follow us everywhere on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts as well. You should follow us on our own personal Instagram pages, our own Twitters, obviously. You should follow us. It's Twitter. I don't care. It's Twitter. I don't care what Elon tells us. It's Twitter. All right? Bring the bird back. That's what I say.
Yeah, it is Twitter.
Hashtag bring the bird. Should follow Ball N Beatz Media on Instagram. Should follow Ball N Beatz Media on TikTok as well. As I quench my thirst with another sip of this undescripted diet soda. Spencer drinks in that nice checkered Five Guys cup. Number 10, Spencer. Number 10.
I have a team that just played the national title game, Miami. Obviously, they're getting Malachi Tony back. He's going to be a stud for this year and next year since he was a true freshman. They got Darian Mensah from Duke in the transfer portal, and I think he's going to be a stud. I trust Mario Cristobal at least to have a really good roster at Miami now because of what he's done. They've built and they finally had that year where went all the way, and they had a legitimate shot to win the national championship against Indiana. And some say they probably should have if it wasn't for the blocked punt. But that sucks. But yeah, I got Miami at 10.
Number 10 for me is BYU. You already talked a little bit about BYU. The one thing you forgot to mention, maybe the best running back period in the country, and LJ Martin returning for them. Bear Bachmeier, of course, returning. They still have some offensive weapons coming in still. My biggest issue with BYU, and I need to see if it fixes itself this year. Against better, competent offenses, their defense was not as good. They would be very stout against everybody else, but you go up against a program like Texas Tech, or you go up against another Big 12 school with a very, very high-flying offense in like a Houston or an Arizona State, they weren't as good. Now, they are returning a decent amount on defense, which is a good thing, more experience under their belt. Can they improve? It's the biggest question. But I like BYU a lot in the Big 12. We'll have to see when they play Texas Tech.
Number 9, I have Texas A&M. Kind of what you went off of. I'm talking about the Aggies. I'm just a little bit higher on them. I really think Marcel Reed's going to take another step and be one of those top quarterbacks in the nation. And a little bit of hope for my cousins down south as well. So yeah,
got them family ties. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Number 9 for me. You've already had them as well. I'm a little bit higher on them coming into this year. Number 9 is Michigan. Now, it might be a little bit too high for some folks. I don't think so, because Kyle Whittingham is going to bring structure. He's going to bring tenacity and no BS. Something Michigan didn't have the last really 4 years, if you want to include everything else that was going on with the whole sign stealing scandal and everything. You did keep Bryce Underwood. You did keep Jordan Marshall. You did keep Andrew Marsh. You kept Kendrick Bell. You kept Andrew Sprague, offensive lineman who almost hit the portal. You had Zeke Berry return, probably their biggest keep out of everybody. In the defensive backfield, you bring in John Henry Daly, one of the better defensive ends in the portal from Utah. You bring in J.J. Buchanan, tight end from Utah, who's been a stud there. And Michigan is very structured now, and they probably have a quarterback coach for Bryce Underwood. So I expect some improvements there this season for Bryce Underwood. And honestly, if you really look at what he was coaching at Utah, Devon Dampier is kind of a similar quarterback. You know what I mean?
Shout out New Mexico legend Devon Dampier.
They're pretty similar with their skill sets. So it's not like it's Kevin Stefanski trying to coach Deshaun Watson. It's a guy who understands the similar athletic ability that Dampier and Underwood both possess. So I think the fit's actually pretty well for Michigan. He's the perfect embodiment of what the actual Michigan man's supposed to be, as what they say, is Kyle Whittingham. And he's a little ticked off with Utah that they forced him out. So I think Michigan's going to be playing pretty angry this year.
At number 8, I have the national champion Indiana Hoosiers. A little lower than some people might like, but they are losing a lot of players. They're returning a couple, especially in the defense. But their main stars, they're all gone. All those JMU transfers are all gone. Those stars, that JMU team, unbelievable.
And I thought the group of 5, I heard the group of 5, Spence, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I was told it was a safety hazard. You remember that? They said the group of 5 players, it's a safety issue. And look at all these guys winning national titles at Indiana. Come on now.
Yeah. the Band of Misfits won the national title for the Hoosiers. But no, they have Josh Hoover coming in from
Your favorite
TCU.
quarterback. Sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off
they got a
again.
furry out there, so they're not going to win nothing. They're not beating Ohio. I'm not losing. My college football team is not losing to a furry. If they do, shut the program down. Fire Ryan Day and whatever we all did. When they lost to Michigan a couple years, 13-10. Fire Ryan Day.
Oh.
Expand the program. Everybody sucks. Jeremiah Smith's
Oh.
going to transfer to Miami. All right.
Well, he won't because he'll be in the NFL. You won't need to worry about that. He'll be
Yeah.
catching balls on Sundays.
But I have the
Oh.
Hoosiers. I think they'll make the playoffs again next year. I trust Kurt Signetti with my life, but I do need to see it with him losing so many pieces to see if there is any backing, like if there's any like regression, because you can't hit on every single transfer portal guy. You just can't. So
Right, it's impossible because they're going to become depth pieces too with how many guys do come in. For me at number 8, I have a team you also just mentioned. I'm slightly higher on them right now. I'm going with Miami. Miami at number 8. I think they earned the benefit of the doubt this year. And of course, you mentioned it, Malachi Toney coming back, Darian Mensah coming in as the quarterback for next year. They're also bringing his top receiver from Duke and Cooper Barcotti, who is going to be a very good piece to add to that wide receiver room. Their entire running back room's back. The entire running back room. And Mark Fletcher is back. You have Gerard Pringle Jr. back. You have Charmar Brown back. That entire running back room, they're all back. You bring in Damon Wilson the second. Granted, he's transferred now 3 times, but he's one of the better edge prospects for the 2027 draft class, skill-wise. Been at Georgia, been at Missouri. He's going to be basically the Bane/Mesidor replacement for next season. Marquise Lightfoot is still back on defense as well. There's still pieces there that were on this defense to not make them fall off too much. Yes, they lose Keontae Scott, Mesidor, Ruben Bain, who some could argue is maybe the best player, period, in this draft class. But Miami is not going to fall off that far. They're not.
Number 7, I have the Lane Kiffin-led LSU Tigers. LSU got a ton of transfers in. Obviously, Sam Levitt's the big one, but they got Jordan Seaton from Colorado. They have a lot of stars coming in. I truly believe Lane Kiffin will get LSU where they need to be, because Lane Kiffin wins no matter where he goes. I mean, you say you want Lane Kiffin wins. He hops around like a you know what. But LSU will be in a good spot. Their defense will be really, really good again. Obviously, they retain their defensive coordinator. They got Charlie Rice from Ole Miss. Sam Levitt's a very good quarterback. I think they're going to be completely fine.
Number 7 for me is the Texas Tech, my beloved Texas Tech Red Raiders. Brendan Sorsby, one of the more sought-after quarterbacks in the transfer portal coming in from Cincinnati. You have your 2-star running backs in Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams returning. You have Coy Eakin, one of your better receivers, returning. Of course, they lose Reggie Virgil and others to the NFL draft. There's still a lot to like here. Adam Trick, the edge rusher from Miami of Ohio, coming in the transfer portal. I expect to be one of their star edge rushers next year. Of course, you lose David Bailey. Of course, you lose Romello Height. You lose Lee Hunter. A whole new defense. Jacob Rodriguez, I can't forget about him. That defense has a lot of change on paper. But of course, they went out and did their thing like they always do in the transfer portal. Drop money on the best guys. And so it's hard for me to really make them drop out of this thing. I think their offense should be better. And honestly, I was a big fan of Will Hammond at quarterback. I thought their offense looked better when he was in them small moments than with Baron Morton. Let alone the fact he did injure himself and he's going to be the clear backup next year too. But Brendan Sorsby is a better quarterback than Baron Morton is, and that's just reality. And Joey McGuire and that coaching staff, they deserve a nod to still be this high. They look like the class of the Big 12 yet again.
So I have it number 6. Just what all you just said. Texas. I have Texas Tech at number 6. Just whatever you just said.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I don't really have to say anything else. So yeah, Texas Tech.
The one thing they got wrong this year, well, granted, they did get utterly. I wouldn't say exposed, but they just got manhandled against Oregon offensively. They couldn't do anything. Defense. If that defense could play offense last year, they would have won a title. I'm just saying it. If the defense were
Yeah, their
good
offense
offense,
fluttered.
their offense fluttered big time. I think it could take a nice jump this year. We will see if Brendan Sorsby's really a massive change. He is definitely better. Is he miles better than Baron Morton? That's what we'll have to find out. Number 6, I'm staying in state. Some people would have them even at number 1 or number 2. I wouldn't argue it because of that portal class. And this portal class is very, 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 very good. I've got the Texas Longhorns up at number 6 because I'm cautiously optimistic. This is more of a cautious ranking. Arch Manning proved himself towards the back half of that season. And really, if you watched the Citrus Bowl against Michigan, you saw the best Arch Manning we've seen. You have Cam Coleman coming in. You have Ryan Wingo returning. You have the entire running back room is completely different. You don't have Trey Wisner. He's now at Florida State. You don't have C.J. Baxter Jr. anymore. He is now in Kentucky. And instead, you bring in guys like Hollywood Smothers from NC State. Rayleigh Brown, he's transferred around a couple times. He was just last at Arizona State. You have other pieces coming in still, too. Bo Masco, defensive back from Rutgers, I think is maybe one of the more underrated portal guys they have coming in. Rasheem Biles, one of the most touted linebackers in the transfer portal from Pittsburgh, an Ohio native, transferring to Texas. You still have other pieces on that offense back. You have Grayson Littleton. Not offense, defense. But you have Trevor Gooseby, offensive tackle who probably was a first-round pick. He's returning. Texas is loaded, dude. It's hard. I see why people could rank them higher than where I have them. It's more of a cautious ranking because I got to see it still a little bit.
Sure. All right, number 5, I have Georgia, and for one reason only, just because they always have a top 5 team.
Understandable.
Doesn't matter who's out there. Doesn't matter what players they get. They always have a good transfer portal class. They always have a good recruiting class. Kirby Smart always will have the dogs at the top of the list. So Georgia, number 5.
Number 5 for me, the Ohio State University Buckeyes. Of course, Julian Sayin back, Jeremiah Smith back, Bo Jackson back. Most of that starting offensive line, in fact, I think all 5 of the starting offensive line back for Ohio State. That's the real question. Will their growth happen? Will there be growth on that offensive line next year with their experience? Brandon Inniss back, Kenyatta Jackson on the defensive line back, Jermaine Matthews back, Devin Sanchez, of course, back, Jalen McClain at safety back. My real question is, will these transfer portal guys come in and be truly impactful? And will the lack of depth at certain positions show itself? Wide receiver, you have Devin McEwen from UTSA coming in. You also have, off the top of my head, Kyle Parker from LSU coming in. Tight end, kind of scary. No Max Clare, no Will Kashmerick. You have Mason Williams and Hunter Welsing, both from Ohio and Northwestern, coming in to really be your more than likely starting tight ends for next year.
Yeah.
I think there's still some questions. Clay Rousseau and James Smith for that defensive line as well, both Alabama teammates. There's a lot of questions still, you know. Like, will certain guys like Edric Houston really step up and take a massive step? Will the transfer kid Bo Atkinson actually be a factor for Ohio State this year? You know, like there's a lot of questions with a very hard schedule.
Unbelievable.
And, of course, Ohio State's still Ohio State. You know, you have to give them the nod. I have them low at 5 because I still think there's a lot of questions that I need answered.
Yeah, I have Ohio State number 4. Sort of what you said, I do have question marks, especially on the defensive side of the ball, mainly defense. With the entire offense coming back, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Play calling needs to be better. That play calling against Miami was a joke. Julian Sane has got to be a lot better. He had an awful game against Miami. They need to grow from that game because they were 12-0. They had all the momentum in the world. Then they lost to Indiana, and then they lost to Miami. Their season was over. So it was a lot of national title aspirations to go back to back. That obviously didn't happen. Sane's got to be better.
Yeah.
Sane has to be better. He was not good in the game against Indiana. He was not good in the game against Texas. And he was not good in the game against Miami. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt against Texas because that was his first collegiate start. But in games that the other team had a pulse and actually, had a fighting chance, he wasn't good. He needs to be better. He needs to read the defenses better. He needs to take what the defenses are giving him and not force anything. And that's the whole reason why Ohio State lost that game. He tried forcing plays. That's why there was a pick six. That was one of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen in my life. By a throwing. It was a great read by Miami, but Ohio State was terrible. Defensive side of the ball, the D-line has to be better, and the safeties room without Caleb Downs is going to be a massive, massive question mark. They got the guy from Florida State, and they got the guy from Duke. Their names escape me.
Earl Little Jr. from Florida State, Terry Moore from Duke. I expect Terry Moore to probably be the starter and have Earl Little Jr. rotate in and out more as like when they play nickel defense or something, stuff like that.
Defensive scheme wise, I like with Matt Patricia more than likely coming back. I'm confident in the defense to be good, at least to be great. They have talent. It's just I need to see more, especially week 2. They go to Texas in week 2, and that will 1,000% be a night game because it's the SEC. It's at the SEC, and Texas wouldn't let it up last year, and of course they lost, and those losers didn't make the playoffs. So now they're gonna have a night game at home, and they can complain all they want, but OSU has to be better. The offensive line has absolutely have to improve, or the season is over from the beginning. If they don't improve at all, the season's they're 8-4, 9-3. The season's a lost season to be from the get-go. So
number 4 for me, team you had at number 5, Georgia. Yes, they're basically a top 5 team every year. One of the big reasons for me, though, this year is they are bringing back a good amount. Gunnar Stockton's back. Nate Frazier, massive returning piece for their running game. Lawson Lucky is back. London Humphreys is back. On the defensive side, you have KJ Bolden, going to be one of the better safeties in the country, back. Raylan Wilson, Ellis Robinson the fourth. They are all back. And, of course, they still hit the portal like they always do. They get some pieces. Dante Dowdle, the running back, formerly at Nebraska, transferred to Kentucky last year. He's going to be running back too, behind Nate Frazier. Isaiah Canyon's coming in. My real question, wide receiver. Zachariah Branch is gone. And I still feel like they haven't gotten enough out of their wide receiver play the last couple of years that we've been used to. So that's the one real question I have. Replacing Monroe Freeling at left tackle as well. Monroe Freeling's one of the better offensive linemen prospects, I think, for this year in this draft class. So replacing him, I think, is going to be a question of mine, and maybe their cornerback play. I think their safeties are pretty stud, like real studs. I have questions about corner, though. But other than that, it's Georgia. That's all you got to say.
Yep. Number 3, I have Notre Dame. They had a really, really good portal class. They obviously got 2 stud wide receivers from Ohio State. They got Mylan Graham and who was the other one?
Quincy Porter.
Yeah.
I think Quincy Porter's probably going to play right away too.
That hurt to lose those guys. CJ Carr is going into a sophomore year. I think he's going to be better. He's going to improve. Obviously, they lost Jeremiah Love, but most of the guys on that defense are back, and I think that Notre Dame's going to be playing pissed off because they didn't make the playoffs last year.
Right.
And they're going to be out for a vengeance. So, yeah, I'll take Notre Dame at 3.
For me at number 3, it is the reigning, the defending, mighty Kurt Cignetti national champions, the Indiana Hoosiers, of course, at number 3. Look, they're keeping Charlie Becker. Carter Smith's back. That's about it. No, but honestly, what they're bringing in the transfer portal can't be argued against. Josh Hoover, I don't care what people want to say about his off the field stuff, if that's real or not. I don't care what Reddit tells you. This dude's a stud. He's an absolute stud. You look at TCU, they ran the second most RPOs in the country last season. Number 1, Indiana with Fernando Mendoza. He understands the kind of offense Curt Cignetti will want to run. In the transfer portal, besides them, Turbo Richard, running back from Boston College, one of the better ACC running backs last year. Nick Marsh, a guy who us Ohio State fans came on our platform here and said, we want Nick Marsh. Didn't happen, he's going to Indiana. Shaz Preston, wide receiver from Tulane. You have other pieces. Joshua Burnham is coming in from Michigan, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or Clemson, one of those. I can't remember off the top of my head. They have a bunch of other pieces coming in the portal. Indiana's, they deserve the respect because Curt Cignetti is the best coach currently in college football, and there's not an argument. Regardless, they deserve the tip of the cap. Indiana, number 3.
Number 2, I have Oregon. They're returning a ton of guys. Dante Moore's back. Dylan Raiola is going to be backing him up, kind of, to be the next guy in waiting, which I think is kind of funny since he was a 5-star and had all this hype, and now he's a backup. But it might be good for him. Dante Moore kind of took that same path. He started at UCLA, and then he went to Oregon, sat behind, wasn't it Bo? Yeah, he sat behind Bo Nix for a year, and then now he took the reins. Oregon's going to be returning everybody, and they are, at least right now, if I had to pick a Big Ten team to win the national title, I would pick Oregon, just because I think of all the pieces that they are returning. And they got that Coy Parrish guy from Minnesota that I wanted Ohio State to get, that stud safety. They did lose both their OC and their DC, which I think it does play a factor. But Dan Lanning is Dan Lanning. He can call the defense if he has to, and I'm Oregon will be completely fine. They got way too much talent to not be good. So,
number 2 for me. This one was tight. I think number 1 and number 2 I could flip these. I kind of was debating. Number 2 is Notre Dame. Now, I understand Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Of course, they're no longer there. But you have Aeneas Williams, still there at running back, who I think is a very young, talented guy. CJ Carr, I think will take a massive step next year. Of course, you still have Jaden Greathouse. You still have Fajon at wide receiver, as well as the guys we just mentioned coming from Ohio State and Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham. You have Christian Gray back, of course. He didn't do great in 2024 in the national championship, but that doesn't mean he hasn't grown and doesn't mean he won't be very good for them. They've got a lot of guys that they've added to. Keon Keeley, who was a 5-star edge rusher from Alabama, just kind of fell down the depth chart, never really got a chance. He's going to be on that defensive line at Notre Dame. They have Cooper Flanagan back at tight end. Like, this roster on paper, dude, is so good, and they just keep getting better because Notre Dame keeps recruiting at a legit level that Brian Kelly said they never could. Maybe it was just you, buddy. Notre Dame is like that. They are going to be playing maybe the most angry ball out of any program next year just because they feel like they got slighted. And some people say deservingly so. I feel like Miami should have been in, and obviously they went out there and proved it. But Notre Dame still, you can make the argument, could have done the same thing had they been in the playoff and gone on a run to a national title appearance yet again. I think Notre Dame's going to be angry. I think CJ Carr is legit. And I think that schedule greatly benefits from the fact that their toughest game next year on paper is probably in Provo, Utah. So, Notre Dame, number 2.
Yep. And then finally, at number 1, I have the Texas Longhorns. I think that they're the most complete team. I think them and Oregon are damn near similar. Just completely honest. I think Arch Manning showed a lot to me, and I really like their portal class. I really like the recruiting class. They brought the Coleman kid in from Auburn, and I just think that Texas is going to be a force to be reckoned with next year.
Number 1 for me is the Oregon Ducks. You said a lot about them already. But they're returning pieces. Their entire defensive line is back. Mateo Uiagalelei, Amari Washington, Bear Alexander, Tatum Tuioti. Their entire starting line has returned. They have Coy Parrish coming in, replacing Dylan Thieneman. They always get the best safety in the portal. Like, that's just like clockwork for them at this point. Dante Moore returning, who would have been probably the number 2 overall pick in this draft class had he left. Evan Stewart healthy next year, maybe. Finally, for them. DeCorian Moore at wide receiver. They bring back Jordan Davidson at running back. Of course, Noah Whittington is no longer there. He's graduated and moved on. But man, this roster on paper, to me, is the number 1 team in the country right now. I don't know if I will sway off of that from this point. I think my number 1 might be locked. I could bounce between 2 or 3 others. I feel pretty locked right now in on Oregon being the number 1 team heading into 2026.
Totally fair.
It's totally fair. Well, Spencer, it's been a fun one.
Yes, it has.
Fun one. Of course, before we leave, though, another sip of my undescripted diet soda. If you want to sponsor us, please do so. You know who you are. You can see through the cracks of my fingers. That's going to wrap up this episode here. Episode 20 of the Scoop and Score Football Show. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Follow us on our Instagram page as well and TikTok page at Ball N Beatz Media for both of those. And go follow us on our own social media pages as well. We have a lot of content coming out. You will see, of course, if you didn't listen or watch this, you will see on Instagram our top 20 B&B poll way too early rankings. You will also see my top 50 NFL prospects will be coming out throughout this week as well. We have a lot of content coming up. We'll keep bringing it your way. For Spencer Gallup on the other side, I'm Logan McCrory. We'll see you guys next week. Take care and peace out.
Peace.